hide and seek. Prepare to be caught. Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Hiding on the playground. No one dares to make a sound. Round and round and round and round. No one wants to be first found.
Hey guys, sorry, but we got some barking going on today, so nothing I can do about that. Sorry about that. So I just came across this after I just posted that video I just posted about the maybe the person who turned in the white Elantra tip, and this one popped up. So it says, does anyone remember the early suspect with the initials PK? I was going through some old videos on this case, and before we've heard of Brian, someone is referencing an early potential suspect with the initials PK, and I was wondering if anyone else remembers it. Perhaps someone misheard P for B. Regardless, Christopher Kohberger isn't the perp. It's time shady investigations get held to account. Look at the Karen retrial. It's absolutely unacceptable. I freaking agree. No, it was a Philip. I don't know. I don't want to put a last name here to respect his privacy, but if you went way back to the beginning, you could find it. I don't know if the name was ever reported to the police, though. Where I saw it was a YouTube channel discussing names that were floating around as potential suspects. This was around 12/1/22, so before BK was on anyone's radar. It's funny how you people just know things with zero information, dangerous to yourselves and anyone gullible enough to entertain you. Yeah, go bite it. Not ringing a bell for me. Appreciate the response anyway. Me neither. Hopefully it jogs someone else's memory because it's super curious. Because I'm super curious. Me too. That was the first I'd heard of those initials. But others who were referencing them seemed to know exactly who they were talking about. Here's hoping someone else has a better memory, LOL. The original video is 1.5 years old, so none of the people who watched it are responding now. Interesting. I'll have to go back and check that out. I'm not sold on BK as the perp, so anytime I hear about someone else with potential connections, I get curious. Good. Kyle of Duty. Kyle. Could you be thinking of Brent Kopacka? I've seen him referred to as BK, and he was often discussed as a suspect conspirator. He also drove a white Elantra crossed out, was an Army veteran, had history of violent threats, had bushy eyebrows, lived near the King Road house, left cryptic messages on social media, and was killed in a police standoff. Yo, Kyle. Edit. Struck out that he drove a white Elantra. I can find a lot of social media posts claiming this, but I can't find any reliable sources. He may be connected to Silver Elantra, but can't find much information on that either. Well, he should have crossed out, had history of violent threats, that he lived near the King house, that he had cryptic messages on social media. He should have crossed those out too, because that's not confirmed. Just saying. Well, according to several news reports, if to be believed, there were in the region a $22,000 22,000 white Elantras registered in the area. I'm a Brit, so I'm assuming the area has to refer to the state for there to be so many. Yeah, pretty sure that was the whole state and then some. I do recall LE, maybe it was Payne himself, who said at first when they looked at the phone numbers, they got through co-fencing. BK's number wasn't there, so they didn't look any closer at him. look any closer at him. So then why would they even know of him in the first place? That seems weird. That statement, that's weird. Then if they were able to track his phone, that's if they had a probable cause for a warrant, it may have raised alarm bells to see his phone tracked all over the countryside, and it was off during the murders. Like I said, I think they would have found him. They would have would have taken much longer. Yeah. Maybe it was Payne himself who said it. Who said it first when they looked at the phone numbers they got through co-fencing. BK's number wasn't there, so they didn't look any closer at him. Okay, exactly. Thank you for referencing. Do you have a link to this, please? Exactly. Just read a CBS, there you go, news article which stated that police confirmed they were sifting through a pool of 20,000 white Elantras, but didn't specify size of area or region. Yeah, it's the whole state of northern Idaho. The population there in Moscow is 26K or so. There were 90 registered in the campus parking lot. Now that's interesting. Yeah, the whole state in northern Idaho. References that. So the number was specifically for cars registered since fall of 2018 through fall of 2022. So, well, that's interesting too, because there has to be a lot more than that if that's the case, right? The number was specifically for cars registered since fall of 2018 through fall of 2022. Some of the cars registered in earlier years probably weren't still on campus as drivers graduated, dropped out, or changed cars. So my thing is, why did they have to just do campus cars? Why wasn't it all white Elantras in all of that area? I'm also unclear of whether that 90 referred to individual cars or registrations. At my schools, you had to register for parking each semester. So if University of Idaho did that, and the 90 was registrations, one Elantra could account for 8 registrations. More if the owner registered for summer semesters. Oh, that's true. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Well, I don't know, because people can have multiple cars. True, I don't know. Oh yeah, but then you compare those people with multiple cars to all the people with 0 cars. Children, elderly people who gave up driving, college students, the broke in general, couples who share a car. There's no way 22K white Elantras were in the specific area in the state or in the state in general. Yeah, maybe. Maybe if you combine Idaho and the more populated Washington state, maybe. But I still think that there's a list of tips they got in. So people were calling in about their ex in Florida or their neighbor in Minnesota. You're right. They usually live in areas like mine. I don't know. I do know people who can't drive like myself here. It must have included Washington. Yeah, you're right. They usually live in areas like mine. Oh, there we go again. Doubled up on that one. Or one hell of a popular choice, eh? Well, yeah, it is a popular choice. That's the whole thing with the white Elantra. It's like, it's almost how it got chosen in the first place, or I don't know. It's just so weird. It's referring to a much larger area than that. If there were 22K white Elantras in Idaho, that would mean over 1% of the total population owned an Elantra, and trust me, there's by no means that common. They are by no means that common. I think the 22K must be tips called in, and people were calling in from all over the country, Canada too. That makes sense. I thought it too high of a number, even for a huge U.S. state. I'm from little old England. Oh yeah, one thing about Idaho too is it's sparsely populated, very rural. It has about 1,964,000 people, which makes it the 39th most populated state, but it's also like the 7th least populated state. That's funny. That's interesting. It makes sense. Yeah. Streetwise, it's about 70K kilometers bigger than the island of Great Britain, but a lot fewer people. And isn't that weird, you guys, when you think about like the islands out there, how many people are just, I don't know, on that island, just on an island. Yikes. Wow, good facts. Thanks for the info. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk on geography, LOL. I just realized I left out a word. Idaho is the 39th most populated state, but the 7th least population dense state. I hope that makes more sense than what I wrote up there. TED Talk, I love it. Yeah, I understood what he meant. Did you guys understand what he meant? I did. Well, there is. The number of coincidences in this case is unreal. 2 BKs, 2 Hunters, 2 Jacks and a Jake. Well, more than that. Everyone and his brother in town drives a white sedan. Kelley had not been staying in Moscow since August, but she chose that weekend to go back. Ethan and Xana are involved in a fight at Sigma Chi just hours before their passing. Kelley and Maddie and JS are discussing someone getting you girls for that just hours before their deaths. The possibility, I've seen no definite proof of this, that Brian K. and Brent K. had both lived in eastern PA till 2022, and then they both moved across the country to end up right across the street from each other. Now, I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist, but this case actually makes me wonder if so-called psyops are real. Yeah, right? It's also been publicly verified that at least 2 of the victims' parents had histories of involvement with narcotics distribution, which, while maybe not fitting into your coincidences criteria, it is yet another potential thread to this already intriguing and ultimately tragic tapestry. Yeah, that's true. Interesting way of putting that, but that's a good choice of words. I agree that's another odd coincidence surrounding the case. The deals made were literally within days of 11/13/22. I also saw that another of the many quinky dinks in this case. I don't think so. Oh, well, that doesn't seem so much as a coincidence to me as it does regular old life in America. 2/3 of America report that their lives have been affected by a addition, their own or someone close to them, and 1/3 of American adults have a criminal record in the case. A third of American adults have a criminal record. 8% of Americans have a felony conviction. God, that's a lot, you guys. That seems like a lot, doesn't it? I cannot find any stats on how many people charged with felonies end up pleading down to a misdemeanor, but it's substantial. 98% of criminal cases are plea bargains, and dropping from a felony to a misdemeanor is one of the most common deals. That's what I think when people are surprised that Xana's mother and Maddie's stepmother had their charges reduced. That's not rare or unusual. Well, I mean, I agree with that, but they had so many. Like, there was numerous. I mean, how many can you have before they start, like, tacking you down to one spot and making you stay there for a while to get clean or whatever? I don't know. Just that part just gets me. Because what they're just doing, I feel like they're just putting them back out there just to re-offend, and that's not cool either. I mean, they obviously need help, right? Anyway, well, that's what I think when people are surprised that Xana's mom had their charges reduced. That's not very unusual. The justice system working as normal. Okay. Various sources, and there's some sources here. Might be kind of interesting. I'm not going to go there now, but very well researched points. So thank you for that. I still do wonder, though, how many drug distributors who have their charges, etc., reduced for whatever reason, then lose their children to a brutal murder within days of that happening. I'm simply curious. Yeah, I do still wonder, though, how many drug distributors who have their charges reduced. Okay, let's repeat that again. Sorry about that. It's pretty rare. Drug distributors who have their charges reduced and then get themselves murdered, sometimes along with their families, are also rare, but happen. The former supposition, though, is rare enough to be statistically insignificant. I'm also trying to remember what her charges were, and I'm thinking they were relatively small potatoes. Well, not really. For Kara, wasn't it something like 2 felony counts of possession? No. You could well be right about the charges. I'll need to check again, but I definitely remember the word distribution was used in several of the news reports I came across. might have been, but even distribution can be small potatoes. Someone with an ounce can be charged for distribution. Forgive my ignorance, but wouldn't with an ounce class as possession? Well, it differs from state to state as well as with feds. Both a lot of laws are written so that intent to distribute can be determined by other factors besides amount. Like packaging. If you had 3/4 of the ounce of something, but it's evenly divided in 6 or 21 baggies. This person knows some stuff. 28 grams, 1 ounce is the magic number to push it to distribution in a lot of jurisdictions. But going by memory, federal law allows 5 grams of M to be prosecuted as intent to distribute. Negative Ghost Rider. Who's Ghost Rider? I didn't see that up here. Felony drug charges are extremely difficult to get dropped to misdemeanors, especially with priors and especially without a damn good attorney. Even with one, it's still nearly impossible if you've had priors, unless the cops just fucked up immaculately. I don't live in Idaho, but I live in an equally red, behind the times, regressive, religious, abortion-hating state. I've known several people my age and older getting popped for the first time with possession of controlled subs. However many grams is considered dealing, and they've all had mandatory jail time. And I ain't talking a couple few days and felonies. First-time offenders, this is at time of sentencing. What you may be referring to is people having their felony charges reduced to misdemeanors years after fulfilling their sentences, provided they abided by certain terms, like not getting charged with any other crime since the felony, not having been a violent or a X crime, etc. Some states have second chance laws, and other legislation allowed a reduction in charges, or to even have the charge expunged. But first you have to serve your time. Well, I'm no attorney, but I can say with absolute certainty that most often felony drug charges do not get dropped to misdemeanors at the time of sentencing. ETA, the legalities of snitching is something I know very little about. Just that you have the right to face your accuser. So there you go. You have the right to face your accuser. So if one of the parents did snitch, and whoever they snitched on goes to jury trial, then the snitch would be subpoenaed to appear. If the snitchee took a plea bargain, then the snitch would be protected, is my understanding. I don't live in Idaho. Okay. Above all, let me give you my condolences. Keep fighting the good fight. What you may be referring to is people having their felony charges reduced to misdemeanors. Okay. No, I'm talking about charges getting dropped or reduced before trial or plea. I'll keep looking for the statistics. Okay, so there's one here. Felony charges dropped. This lawyer website claims about 25 to 30% of felony charges get dropped before trial, but no sources. It's unclear if they are talking about the country or their own state, and of course the whole site is only an ad for their services. Yep, of course. This I haven't had time to dig into, but it looks interesting. Idaho used to be tough on dropped felony drug charges. The present day Idaho, often at prosecutors' requests, are dismissed or reduced. It kind of makes you, it makes you wonder why. Because if you think about it, all of them that get dropped or reduced is just more apt to bring more into the state, because there's just that one more person that's out there that's doing this, right? It doesn't make sense to me. If there's any more coincidence than is this really any more coincidence than anyone else in real life? Think of the birthday paradox. You only need 23 people for the probability that 2 of them will have the same birthday, which exceed 50%. See here, really? If You only need 23 people for the probability that 2 of them will have the same birthday. Is that true, you guys? That seems really far-fetched. 23 people and 2 of them have the same birthday? Nah, that's weird. I don't know. Have to look into that one. 2 BKs. Initials are kind of the same thing, especially when you look at the most common initials. B is the 6th most common first initial in the U.S., right after J, M, S, D, and C. When it comes to the most common last initials, K is the middle of the pack. 12. Huh. So 2 people with the initials BK aren't exactly statistically rare. It's not like they both have the initials OV or UX. That just for some reason that just sounds nasty. I don't know why, but it just sounds dirty. I know a lot of people with the same initials, even married couples, who had the same initials before marriage. 200s, 2 Jacks and a Jake. All 3 of those names were popular back when they were born. Jacob was the most popular boy's name in 2009, and Hunter and Jack both hovered around 40th in popularity for that decade. I'm sure that if these murders happened in 1992, we'd be talking about Chris's, Mike's, Matt's, just because that's what the trends were in the 70s. I'm Gen X, and my entire male social circle is made up of Matt's, Mike's, Chris's, and also Brian's. My husband and I call all the Matts by their first names. My husband and I call all the Matts by their first names and have descriptors for each Brian. My husband and I call all the Matts by their first names and have descriptors for each Brian. Everyone and his brother in town drives a white sedan. Well, the 22K number given seems to be from the tip line, and people were calling in from all over the country from the tip line. That's not even 90K people in Latah and Pullman counties. So there's no way almost 1 in 4 of every resident owns a white Elantra. You can even see, looking at the newspaper photographs on Google Street View, the mixture of cars and trucks pretty much like everywhere else, are pretty much like everywhere else. Lots of white vehicles, and that's because 98% of all vehicles in America are white. I keep hearing these claims that these person with a white Elantra and that each person has a white Elantra or has an Elantra, but not backing up by anything. Sometimes people post a picture of a parking lot with a white sedan and say that proves that person X who lived down the road had access to a white Elantra. No, that proves nothing. I did the math not too long ago with the help of this page. That's interesting. So if I used an extremely simplified model that assumes all Elantras sold in the U.S. were distributed equally among the population without regard to age or religion preferences, and that all Elantras sold were still on the road, that would be about 217 white Elantras between 2005 to 2022 in Latah and Whitman County. No doubt the number's smaller in actuality. That's kind of an interesting breakdown. Anyway, wall of text. I'll put the rest in another post. Where were you doing my biostat class in 2009? Yeah, no lie, right? I'm going to stop this and make sure this is going so I can read the rest of it. So I got to make sure it doesn't just like dump this whole video. So I'll be back.